It's a Monday. You know what that means. Monday Night Football coming up in a little bit here. Southern Oregon Sports Talk presented by Medford BMW. Hey, everybody. Matt Bagley with you. And this is a bittersweet feeling. I've got Brian Schnee here in the studio. I'm going to bring him on the airwaves in a minute or two. Brian was my first guest on my first day doing Southern Oregon Sports Talk a couple years ago. It was a 1-hour show, Southern Oregon Sports Hour, and we had Brian Schnee right off the top. And now today is the last time I will ever have Brian Schnee in studio. And I don't really know what to think about that. Great friend, great guest. I know you mention him, you love him, you listen to him. And, yeah, we'll just have to bring that in a minute. I want to talk Ducks tonight. Big win over Stanford. I'll share my thoughts. Want to talk Beavs tonight. I really like Oregon State this weekend. That might sound crazy. I'll explain. And I got a lot to say about the NFL. A lot to say about the NFL after what I saw yesterday. I think that after 1 week, you can be concerned about something. After 2 weeks, you see a trend. After 3 weeks, you see facts. And there's some facts I want to take away from the NFL so far. But we'll get to that in my second segment, short show tonight, because of the Monday Night Football game. So I got to spend my time the way I always do on a Monday. Got to maximize my time with a anchor. Guy's done sports reporting. Guy has produced. Guy has been on the radio before. He's done just about everything you can do in this business, and he's done it well, most notably anchoring the news every night on KTVL News 10, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock. He's Brian Schnee. Brian, how you doing, my friend?
I'm overwhelmed for a lot of reasons. Daniel Jones won a game.
Daniel Jones won a game.
That's a fact. Week 3 fact for you, Matt Bagley. Daniel Jones won a football game. I mean, the kicker missed 2 PATs and a game-winning field goal. It was very strange. He knocked in like a 57-yarder, but couldn't hit a chip shot to win it, basically, compared to that.
Right.
It was weird. I mean, I'm a Giants fan. I'm not going to soak up your airwaves with Giants junk, but that was a very strange game. But to see Eli Jr. come out and get a W, deserving or not, that felt kind of cool.
Soak up my airwaves with some Giants junk, because I think there's an angle here. You've got a team like, say, Seattle, where the fan base thinks Russell is invincible and everybody else sucks. And you have a team like the Raiders where fans think, hey, the opposite might be true now, of fans are starting to turn on Derek Carr.
Right.
They don't believe in their quarterback, but we've had this guy for so long that at least I can't fathom them getting rid of him. And you have an organization with the Giants where Eli was that guy.
Yeah.
And was in that position for a decade, and they ripped the Band-Aid off, and everything worked out.
It worked out. I mean, it wasn't pretty. I mean, there were some bright moments. Very well could have been a loss. I mean, there's no doubt that it should have been. I mean, I think when you have someone who's being paid to kick field goals and they miss 2 PATs and an actual field goal that would have won the game on the road, so in Tampa Bay, very strange. I want to segue it for you because it was very strange thinking football. You know, Friday was my final football show at News 10.
Right. At
2 TV stations here in the area. I went to the Crater game. It was my final time running sidelines with a camera. Ran into some great people. Got to see Crater Thurston, obviously. It was a great game. And I don't know, it's a strange feeling right now because you and I, as you mentioned, you know, I was sitting here with you in the other studio, day one, basically, for this show.
The fish tank.
And this, yeah, the fish tank. And we went through our troubles in the fish tank. I say we because I was there watching you fiddle with stuff and get things right. And you worked really hard to make this show what it is. And I hope you continue to take it to a whole nother level because I know you can take it there.
Thank you.
And I'm just thankful that you've let me join you almost every single Monday since then. If not Monday in the studio, Monday on the phone, or maybe Monday from Myrtle Beach one day after the Masters, or maybe it was a Tuesday because Mondays didn't exist in the radio world, but it did in TV.
You mentioned the Masters. That might have been my favorite Brian Schnee.
It was pretty cool. I was so excited.
I'm still jazzed that you got to see, not just the Masters, you got to see the Tiger comeback at the Masters.
History. I mean, history, and then to bring it here to people that may or may not have truly cared in Southern Oregon. Big golf community, though, so I'm sure they got into it. But it was one of those things that I'm trying to just think back to everything that you and I have, you know, talked about, or at least thought about talking about on the air and stuff over the last couple of years. So I'm just thankful that you let me do it.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I have to rein you in sometimes when your hot takes get a little too scorching, but other than that,
there's nothing hot. Nothing hot.
You mentioned you were at Crater on Friday night.
I was.
I'm chatting with Brian Schnee from KTVL News 10, and like he said, he's not going to be there for long, so we got to soak up this
final
time.
week. Yeah, final week at News 10. 5 and 6 on Friday, my last two shows. No more football for me. No Friday show for me at 11:15. Very strange.
Now that you don't have to worry about burning bridges, playing politics, favorite venue when you go out for a Friday night football game?
I think the atmosphere would be fair. I do enjoy Crater. I think they're the best fan base. I've been saying it for a couple of years. The students are most supportive there of either football or any sport for that matter. I think that's something that is lacked in the city. The true, genuineness of the students to come out and support. And I know it's kind of hard to year by year. Speak is obviously huge too. So to make that same noise in a stadium that's just massive, it's tough. But they do a nice job though for South and North. They do. And I think that the giddy up is there. I always thought that was the best part about high school football and some other high school sports is the genuine student interest for some of those things. In the Basin, they rock it too over at Mazama. I actually really enjoy going to Valhalla, because I think they really kick butt over there.
Well, they win at Mazama.
And they win all the time. That is really cool. Venue, I would have to say Crater. I mean, nothing beats a good sunset there in Central Point. You got the train tracks on the other side, people honking their horn as you go by. It always seems like a beautiful Friday night in Central Point when I'm covering a Crater game. Not to mention, David Hurd is one great dude over there as the AD. We've gotten along great over the last bunch of years, and I've always appreciated what he, along with all of the athletic directors around here. I mean, we had Jamie Young in studio on Friday night.
Right.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Got some texts from some folks that I've seen around at the area games on Fridays saying, "Hey, where were you? We missed you." And that feels great. At least it always felt that way to me, but it's nice to know that the feelings were mutual with a lot of folks.
Chatting with Brian Schnee, friend of the station, friend of the show, and a friend to Oregonians about to embark on a new adventure in Salt Lake City. We talked about that a lot more last week, and I'm not going to beat people's heads with it, but when you move and somebody asks you about sports in Oregon and sports fandom in Oregon, what do you say?
Duck heavy. It's Duck heavy, I think. At least in Southern Oregon. I always think it's overwhelming slightly by Ducks fans compared to Beavers fans. And I used to think it was 50-50. I don't know anymore. I try to keep mental tabs on what I see when I drive around town, bumper stickers, jerseys, and whatnot.
Right.
I don't know. It seems like people are still believing in the O as a general trend. Obviously, it's not always the case. We have a lot of great ties to Oregon State here locally, too, both in the football and baseball and some other unique sports as well. So I just think it's solid. I mean, people love college sports here. People love good high school athletics. More people are getting into the Blazers than ever around the state. I think that's really good. I know that organization's trying to reach out as much as they can, too. I'm excited for hockey in the Pacific Northwest, finally in Seattle. I'd like to see some Seattle hockey fans, even all the way down here. I think it'd be kind of cool. I've got weird hopes for what the PNW can bring. I still think Portland belongs with an NHL team. I don't know if they would support it that well, but it'd be wonderful. I mean, the Winterhawks do what they do, but I'm always thinking about what else could happen in Oregon. I still think there's so much that can be done.
Last week, I can't remember. Did I ask you if you would miss anything from Oregon?
Well, I miss the people. I think that's what it was. In terms of missing sports, you can get sports anywhere. You know that. I wasn't a big supporter of Oregon or Oregon State. It's not like I was there as a fan, so I'm not going to miss those things.
Right.
I'll have other D1 college athletics right down the street or nearby. It might be thought of here as a different caliber. I don't know if I believe that. There are certain sports there that excel just like here, and there are certain sports there that they think that they excel in that they don't, which is the same as here. It all depends, and that's what fandom is. It's wonderful. That's what fans are for, and that's why sports are great. And I'm going to be excited to see what is different and what is the same in a new place. But I'm going to be in a city where there is professional sports, so I'm really excited about that.
So you're going to go to Jazz games? I'm
going to go to a Jazz game. I'm hoping to go to Jazz Blazers, maybe sneak in and just catch a couple quarters for that preseason game coming up on the 16th, that Wednesday night. I mean, I would love to be there for that.
All right. Brian Schnee, KTVL News 10. He's excited to cover some pro sports. I get to talk some NFL with you before you go.
Sure.
So Daniel Jones, big story. Outside of Daniel Jones, what's the biggest surprise to you through 3 weeks?
The amount of injuries to major players. I mean, and how much it's impacting people's fantasy rosters, for one, and how duds or not highly sought-after picks are the ones causing so much damage overall in terms of scoring, impact plays. The NFL is very different than this year. I mean, we're not seeing a huge amount of big-time, highly drafted fantasy-wise or just highly sought-after power backs or number one backs kind of do it all.
It's a weird league
It's a weird league this year. You know, the exceptions like an Alvin Kamara who put up 35 points or something in most people's leagues yesterday. But, I mean, there are some that you kind of look at and go, that would have been an interesting pickup. I mean, old man Frank Gore had a great day yesterday. I love seeing that. People that you see unsuspecting based on the trends of where football has gone with the traditional single back offense doesn't happen anymore. I mean, there's
right.
2 or 3 backs basically that are used on any given down. You know, someone's a traditional third down back, but maybe that's changed immediately compared to what we've seen in past years. I just think it's crazy. I mean, I'm using that Giants game as an example. Tampa Bay doesn't have many skilled backs. I'm just using running backs as an example because that's where a lot of your points are coming from or your touches. I mean, they were so split, so abysmal, but so split that you couldn't really tell who would be that feature back, that one that you would draft come next year. You know what I mean? So I think just the inconsistency of some of the studs, the injuries, the early season injuries are insane, and it's still early, so we have a lot of storylines to play out, but some teams look great, some don't. I'm surprised the Giants have a win.
Yeah, I'm stunned by that Giants.
They should be 0-3, no doubt.
Stunned by that Giants game. Did you see the play where, I think it was the Giants, they take a turnover on a house call, they're trying to run to the end zone, and the guy's teammate bumps him from behind, trips him down.
In true Giants fashion, though, those things happen. Yeah, I did see it. I saw a good solid recap of it again today because I watched almost every play again. But
I've never seen that happen in a football game.
Isn't it amazing?
At any
though?
level.
Well, so what I saw at Crater High School on Friday, which I did capture with my lens, I put it up on Twitter. You know, Trevor Davis is the quarterback and their kicker. He kicks off, receiver from Thurston, you know, the kick returner grabs the ball, comes down near sideline. Davis rips the ball out of his hands, goes the other way.
Oh my God.
And that's, you know, spearheaded the touchdown run from like 45 yards or something. I don't think I've ever captured a play like that in my camera lens ever. Just so happened to be on my final day, you know, shooting Friday Night Football here in Southern Oregon. I get to see Davis physically rip the ball out of the returner's hands and take it the other way. Give me that, like a true give me that moment. So that was pretty sweet.
That's funny. Brian Schnee,
right here in our backyard.
Brian Schnee, News 10, my guest. One last question, very last question, and then we'll sign off and send you on your way to Utah. You got me thinking now about all the hijinks that you deal with on Friday nights. I read so many TV anchor problems, right, where they go out to a high school football game and the touchdown comes right when they turn the camera off, or the home run happens right as they're pulling into the stadium and they miss it. How often does that really happen?
It happens enough, especially if you're going to multiple games, or if you're like me and typically would have to do the news and sports on Friday. I mean, you just have so much stuff to do. One of my best moments like that of like, you've got to be kidding me moment, like I had that. So I went with SOU to Reinhardt, you know, in Georgia.
That was the Georgia game,
the Georgia
NAIA semifinal 2 years ago.
And went to overtime, double overtime or whatever. It was crazy. The athletic director for Reinhardt is celebrating so hard in front of me on the sideline. He runs in front of one of their own touchdown grabs, like literally balls in the air, maybe a 25-yard pass. I'm anticipating in the end zone. As you know, we shoot about 20, 25 yards ahead of the play. I mean, you want to anticipate the ball coming to you.
Right.
You know, and sometimes it goes the other way with defensive plays and you just deal with it.
When I've done
I had a
play-by-play,
celebrating athletic director showboating and all fired up on the sidelines running through my shot. I was livid. I was livid. And I had such a great relationship with some of the guys down the street. They saw that I was so mad, they offered to give me the clip just because they knew I had the shot.
That's
but
funny.
Dingus McGee down there runs in front of me, and I'm just sitting there like, you've got to be kidding me. So I've had that happen. You know, oh, really? You know, I shot the back of someone else's head the other day at Crater. Had to use a white flash dissolve just to get the actual play. Weird things like that happen. You're in the parking lot, you hear the roars, there's the 97-yard kick return. Happens all the time. It's great. It's truly great. The weird things that we have to go through shooting sports, especially at the local level, It's one of a kind. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
He says it's great, and he's smiling, but, folks, I don't trust him that much.
It's painful.
Brian Schnee, anchor in the news, KTVL News 10. He's on at 5. He's dressed sharp to the nines, and he's only on the air for another week.
That's
Friday
right.
night, last show ever here in Oregon.
At 6. Yeah.
Wow.
5 and 6.
Wow. Well, I'm tuning in 6 o'clock Friday night. That's
Thank
for
you, Matt.
sure.
Appreciate that.
Brian Schnee, News 10, my guest. And I'm going to wrap up. Going to send you to Monday Night Football. But first, let's talk college football. Ducks, big win over Stanford. What does it mean for Oregon's Pac-12 prospects? Beavs, do they make it a win streak this week? It's not too far-fetched. I'll tell you why. And NFL. I've got some takeaways from 3 weeks of pro football. Teams I like, teams I don't, teams that I think could hoist a Lombardi when it's all said and done. We'll look at that next on Southern Oregon Sports Talk. Brian, before I sign off this segment, I just want to say I have loved working with you, and I'm so excited, so proud, and so optimistic for you. I've said this off air. I'm going to say it on air for everybody that hears. I really believe, give it time, 5, 10, maybe 15 years, maybe not 15 years, maybe sooner than that, we're going to see you on network TV.
I appreciate it, Matt.
It
all started right here.
It's
For the
gonna
most
happen.
part, all started right here in Medford. Isn't it great?
You're climbing, man. You're moving
Climbing,
up the ladder.
ambitious, hungry, and enjoyed every step of the ride. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Moving up the ladder. Brian Schnee, News 10, and NFL, college football, and more coming up next on Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW. Right here, 96.1, 580 The Game.